Hello everyone and welcome to the 2024 Chainhawk Open 13 presented by Dynamic Disc. We're at Jonesville Park here for round number 2. Our leader, Hjalmar Fredriksson out of Sweden. Swedish throwing Castoplast member Clay Edwards, Dennis Augustsson, and rounding out the card, Double G, Garrett Gurthie, who birdied his final hole in round number 1 to remain here on the coverage. So far, you've seen some pretty great play in round 1, along with the skins match that took place leading into the tournament. And today, we've got just one shot at Jonesville. Let's see if they can make the most of it. Hole number 1, 315 feet. See some forehands or a gentle left to right backhand turnover should lead you into this pocket here. A few protective trees. Good birdie to start off with, though. As you can see, some light winds pushing from left to right. You would have loved to skip, but that's still going to put him at circle's edge. You can see the basket just tucked barely behind that one final tree. Solid forehand coming from Clay. Clay opened the tournament with 10 under. One off the pace of our leaders. And Dennis, nice looking lefty backhand shot. So two lefties from Sweden. Dennis also told me just before we got started, he said, "You can call me Denka." So we'll see if I can fully adopt that, but just going by Denka. As Double G is going to be closest to the pin, it appears there, as you see him just in the bottom of your screen and firing in with no problem. Great start here for Hjalmar. It's going to be great to watch two lefties, but very different styles when I feel like it comes to their releases, especially on their putting stroke. Easy cleanup for Clay, and that means Double G with a chance to close out the star frame. And the short little gimme putt will do just that. So great start for the card. Hole 1 played as the 4th easiest hole on the course. And it was aced. I'll have that stat for you in a minute as to who that was. But hole 2, relatively easy, 230 feet. Well, it feels easy because it's one of the shortest holes that they'll play this entire round. Couple different options and routes to get at it. In fact, it is the single shortest hole on the course. The next hole is just 4 feet longer. And the ace came from Luke McMillan. I want to get that shout out in there. We heard it while we were standing around waiting for the tee off, so congrats to Luke. Well, that's a tricky little play. This little forehand around the right side. Denka goes lefty forehand up the left side. And Double G is going to go with the backhand. Just a little beat up mid. I think he said he's had that Rock 3 in his bag for like 8 years. You see it thrown quite often. This time it looked like it fell out of his hand early. More trees than you'd like here on hole number 2. Already connected with a couple. Doesn't feel good to work that hard for a par, but he'll escape with just that. He'll remain 1 under for the round. Sometimes pars feel great because you worked really hard for them. You don't want to be doing it on hole 2, though, at 230 feet. Denka in for the birdie. Off to a good start. He's 2 for 2. Jonesville certainly on the shorter side. Some would call it a little more of an old school style course, just 5,881 feet. That's like most of your park style courses that you'd go out and play. Certainly not a long, brutal, super challenging track that we find often out on a Disc Golf Pro Tour stop, for instance. Here we are on hole number 3, and as Double G explained, with some of the storms that have come through recently, this has been opened up from what you've seen over previous years. We're going up the left side route, which then gives you either the forehand flick that should skip to the pin or the lefty backhand, or as we're seeing Hjalmar going with the righty forehand. And that should work out just fine. There's an inside cheater route that we've seen a few people take in the previous few years. I don't know. If you've got this shot, though, it's a much higher percentage. In fact, you can't even really see the basket. Trust me, I was looking for it. It's protected. And then Double G finds a brand new route that didn't exist just a few months ago. I was thinking he'd go up the right side gap that we've seen in years past. No, he goes way up high, hanging it out even wider. And as you can see, he gets him just outside the circle. Big old putt for Double G. That's coming in from circle 2, just about 40 feet. Outstretched, but not a problem for Hjalmar. I said it yesterday. I don't feel like we've seen his putter hit the ground all too often. Very, very solid player. And I'll answer the question that I posed and realized I never really told you guys. Hjalmar, as you're seeing, 17 years old. So somebody guessed that he was in his 30s, and the tradition that we see often international, anytime you see a star frame, everybody goes and rings the chains. They missed out on hole number 1. Looks like they're making up for it on hole 3. So we head to the 4th. Straightforward, 351 feet. Just all about missing everything. I was going to say hitting the line, or in other words, missing everything. I guess depending on how optimistic you want to be. Not a whole lot of trickery or other options. It's just a matter of, do you pier this gap? You want to miss a few of the final trees there, and that's going to come up short. Nasty kick. Off to the right-hand side. It's actually going to be somewhat close to the tee of hole number 9. This makes me think back to 5 years ago, the first time I was ever down here at this event. I was not on the card, but it was filmed. There was an ace here on this very hole. And I'm waiting for somebody to ring it up here for possibly some of the other ace opportunities. Again, somewhat shorter of a course. See if anyone can make some magic. It's a par 54. And you got a couple of lengthy par 3s. Every hole is a par 3. You got a couple of lengthy ones, like hole number 7, hole number 5, hole number 9. Clay looks like he'll be putting a blemish on the scorecard. It's going to be a bogey. Well, of course, I just jinxed him. After just talking about his putting prowess still. Oh, but Denka, he gets it. Off to a great start. He's 4 for 4. Double G looking to go 3 for 4. Not a problem. Double G comes into this weekend with a 1022 rating. Denka has a 1008 rating. As we see Hjalmar clean up, he's rated 1017. And Clay will tap in. Clay also rated over 1,000. In fact, he's rated at 1012. As we head to hole number 5, one of the least birdied holes on the course. You have the right side OB as we're kind of going over the fence line right now. The marshy side off to the right is out of bounds, and then also the road up on the left side is out of bounds. So really just playing all the way down this fairway. As you can see, not much obstruction to speak of. Just a matter of can you get it all the way there, just shy of 500 feet. Nice line, just short. Not a problem for Double G. He's going to have a look from inside the circle. Very tough hole for a lefty backhander to get aggressive with it. As you can see, filtering down and to the right. That's the place it's naturally going to pull out with a backhand as a lefty, and there's really nothing you can do to challenge the left side. And not good here for Clay. He's going to be out of bounds. Looks like he's just going to post up over here. All right, gives him a chance. However, looking at back-to-back bogeys, bogey-free on this course is very doable, and I feel like somewhere around double digits is a score that you're going to be looking for. That's usually in the neighborhood of hot score. We've seen as hot as 12s, 13s, I think even a 14 in the last few years. Another solid connection for Double G. So although he missed hole 2, the 230-footer, he's picked up the rest of them besides that. So 4 out of 5 here, off to a pretty good start, which matches the effort that we've seen from Denka. And Clay's in trouble with a couple back-to-back bogeys. Great to have a little gallery action coming out and taking it all in. What an incredible club we have here in Gainesville, the Chainhawk crew. I know we're here for the 13th annual event, but just a tip of the hat and nothing but love and applause for everyone making this all happen, especially our title sponsor and Dynamic Disc. I know Tyler Searle from Soar and Dynamic Disc is down here running the show here at the Jonesville course. And the pros will be at north side for rounds 1 and 3, but great to be here during round number 2. Just 281 here on hole number 6. And that's got too much mustard on it. Never really seen someone go deep in this case. And at first, I didn't even realize that was out of bounds. But he's gone OB, and he'll have a chance to save par. And Hjalmar pauses, and sure enough, we get a red flag. Not enough to clear it. And I feel like a lot of people will bail out anywhere on that high left side just because you definitely don't want to throw it out of bounds. I feel like we see the exact same thing over on hole number 16. You're doing everything you can just to avoid the OB. But you can't come up short because he's all the way back here and has at least a 200-foot approach, and that's going to basically guarantee a bogey. Speaking of bogeys, I had no idea where Clay's went. I don't know how it landed here. Either way, he's got a birdie luck. Let's see if I minimize my bogey count here, as that is going to be just a bit high. It's in. Little ringer there for Double G. Picks up another birdie. And he goes 5 under through 6. And while we're talking about camera action, big shout out and thanks to our friends over at Disc Golf Van Life. Appreciate all of the drone previews that you guys are seeing here on both of the courses. Also make sure you check out his channel. I know he's capturing plenty of action. He's also worked with me on a number of events and hoping to have him involved with some upcoming coverage as well. But big shout out to them for the drone previews that we're seeing here as we head to the 7th. 405 feet. Slightly downhill. And you really do need to hit a line here, because if you pull it too far to the right, you can find trouble, or if it's coming in hot and then catches somewhat of a downslope, getting it to skip hard left seems to be, again, the common misfire or the bailout zone. Nice line drive from Double G. But 2 straight. And little do we know at the time, that actually just barely goes out of bounds. He needed that to hook up. He'll have about 40 feet to the pin. This is the shot you're looking for.
Thanks.
I'd like to borrow some of that Denka mustard from the previous shot. That's going to be just a bit short. This could be trouble. Oh, but it's going to drop. Just falls right out of the sky. Felt like that was going to be tracking toward the right side out of bounds, but he's still in. Clay not quite dialed on the jumpers. He's had a few looks. Middle of circle 2, not a problem. And that will immediately negate the bogey on the previous hole. And Hjalmar was looking to do the same, but looks like par at best coming up here on the 7th. Double G trying to avoid bogey himself. But the putter's on. saw somewhat of a slow start yesterday, and that was the first 2 holes, and then he got things going. Today, he only missed 1 hole and then has been on fire pretty much ever since. And we got just 2 holes left to play here in our front 9, so naturally I got to beg you, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. While you're at it, leave us a comment.
No, you're good.
Tell us what the next event is that you're playing. I know this is end of year. You guys keep saying you love off-season coverage, but the season's not over everywhere. So tell me where you're playing next. Sanctioned or otherwise, I want to know what's the next event. Maybe it's a local ice bowl. Maybe it's just a league, whatever it is. But let me know when you're playing next. Put it in the comments. As we look at hole 8, gentle bend from left to right, slightly downhill. Oh. Looked like he yanked that, and it kicks back to the center of the fairway somehow. I thought that was going to be launched into an entirely different section of the course. What a beautiful turnover. I'm not talking about the pastry either. Maybe that's a better question than where you're playing. What's your favorite turn? Is there any other turnover other than like a cherry turnover? I guess an apple turnover. I don't know. You're thinking about some nice flaky pastries along with some fruit filling, maybe a little bit of icing on top. I'm right there with you now. Denka almost finding a way to throw it in for birdie. We'll see if Clay can manufacture something, and he's looking just to get next to the pin, so should be able to salvage par from there. Fredriksson moves to 14 under. And what a battle we have going on here. Denka is at 14. And Double G's trying to get to 15. Well, he's, spoiler alert, he's got the 3-footer. And Double G having quite a front 9 so far. We'll keep on rolling over to the 9th. The most difficult hole on the course to pick up a birdie. And you can see you have to get out of the tunnel here. You have to avoid all of this shrubbery and these scattered trees. And then as you're hyzering back in with a righty backhand shot, avoid these late trees and then get it to check up here. A pretty tall task. 370 feet. And playing at .66 over par. So a 3 is a pretty good score at this point, as we're watching Double G. Well, you would think a 3 is at least guaranteed from there, maybe better. Doesn't set up great for the lefty backhand shots. Green paddle. You'd love to see that get all the way through. But again, worst case scenario, looks like should be able to get up and down. We'll see how aggressive he gets on the putt. And you're going to love this. 3 or 4 skips later, and that's going to be closest. So Clay has a chance at birdie. Pretty impressive bid from that far back. So far, just 2 birdies in what, 57, 47 players, 2 birdies so far. Double G, patent pending. Clay. For the 3rd birdie of the day, our last chance at birdie. Nope. I wanted it. All right, I want you to not go anywhere. That's what I want. We're going to close out here on the front 9. We'll take a look at the scores. As I said, like, share, subscribe. Big shout out to everyone involved with this event, along with our title sponsor in Dynamic Disc, the fearless leader, Chris Clark, your tournament director, along with the rest of the staff. Thank you guys so much. That's how it looks at the halfway point of the tournament as we're sitting 27 holes in. Just 27 holes left to play. As always, I'm the Disc Golf Guy, and I'll find you in the fairway.